Electric Ladyland Studios in New York. As you all know, Tori just released her first seasonal album, Midwinter Graces. Played some of those tunes for us as well as some old gems. We will be taking fan questions right now in a bit, so if you want to go ahead and submit your questions, there's a feed to the right of the video player. Submit your question there, and we'll see it all pop on the screen. It's constantly refreshing. So I'll be reading questions from that screen as well as some here. So welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Here we are at Electric Ladyland. It's a magical place. Just being here with the energy that's been here.
How are you holding up in cold, windy New York right now?
Well, it's very cold, I must say. I think that's why it's, on one hand, it's good playing inside, not being outside, because as a piano player, your hands get cold.
Right.
And it's hard to get them moving.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about Midwinter Graces before we get into the fan questions. So the first question, can you just describe to me the evolution of this album from idea into execution?
In some ways, if I really look back, maybe I've been composing this since I was 2.5, without even knowing it. Going to the church services my father would be the minister of, that's one of my memories that I have, always being at this time of year at services, and there would be a lot of music. Some I wasn't so crazy about, and some that I thought had a lot of potential, and some that I liked. And so I guess I would be storing parts of it that I liked and parts of it that I didn't, and I would research where some of these songs, where the melodies came from and how they were changed over the years, so that when I did get asked to do this by Doug Morris, who's head of Universal, and I've known him, he was the guy that broke Little Earthquakes worldwide. He's 70, and he talked to me about making a unique kind of seasonal record that was different, that had a new approach to some of the old carols and some new songs as well.
What was the most surprising thing that you learned doing the research for these carols?
Well, to realize that a lot of the songs that we think are sacred cows, that you can't touch them, they were actually other songs. And so some of them might have been drinking songs. The first Noel, for example, could have been a sea shanty or a drinking song. And then the Christology was put to the song much later. And no one can trace exactly what the songs were before this. But that really fascinated me, because I thought, well, then I'm just a part of a tradition that's also putting another viewpoint on it, a multi-layered, sort of like an archaeological dig.
And your daughter, Tosh, as well as your niece, Kelsey, both sing on this album. And your nephew, you mentioned the other day, Casey, is the angel in the artwork. Was it really important for you to incorporate your family into this project?
Well, family is the center of our life, and especially at the holiday time. I know there's so many stories that you hear of people where I get letters and stuff from people that tell me the most crazy stories of holiday, of families getting together. And it is true that sometimes you have those gatherings where not everybody's on the same page, and you might have different spiritual beliefs, and you find a way to try and put that aside during the holiday time and not have confrontations about politics or things like that. And that's a commitment that we really try and make, that we hold a space for people just to kind of appreciate each other. My mom and dad keep telling everybody, we don't know how much sand is in the hourglass, they'll say to me. They're 81. And we try and all be with them around this time.
And with that, what is your warmest holiday memory?
Well, I would say to you probably the most recent years. I've really enjoyed having a child, and I think this time of year when you have a child, the kid in you comes out, and whatever your opinions are on this season, the humbug goes away when you have kids. Just to see them so excited. And I have a little girl who's 9, Tash. So she's really taught us all, I think, that it is a special time and it is a magical time.
So we're going to take a couple of fan questions now. Again, to everyone that's watching this, you can submit your question to the feed that's to the right of the player. And like I said, the screen's constantly refreshing, so are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. Let's start with one of these right now. Okay, Sharon wanted to know, have you ever had stage fright?
Yes, there are times when it hits you. Television's tricky, I find, more than live, because a live concert, you get a whole 2 hours. It's sort of like a date. It's not just walking out cold like you do on TV, and it all happens so fast. You're out there, especially if it's live TV, and you can't fix it. If you
like right now.
yeah, this is live, but it's good because for some reason this isn't the same pressure that you get when you're on a national TV show, just because everybody's so stressed on some of those TV shows. This is really relaxed and everybody's chilled out, and everybody keeps saying to me, it's the internet, Tori. Anything goes, and you kind of think, that's very unusual, because when I'm doing TV, it's, now don't do this. You can't say one of those bad words that you like to say. And I think, oh, what a reputation I have. And then you know that if you mess up, then the audience is not warmed up to you. Whereas when it's a concert, it's very different, because everybody, no different than a date. You're having a cocktail, you're getting to know each other, you're taking off your jacket. I mean, it's kind of sexy. Whereas TV, they're completely cold to you. They have not warmed up to you. So you walk out and you're playing these highly emotional pieces, and it's very difficult to get them where you are like that. That's the trick.
See, we have a question. Piece by Piece really opened my eyes. Your autobiography, of course. Are there any plans on making another book?
I hope not. No, that was torturous. I think I'll leave books to Neil Gaiman. And Ann Powers was fabulous working with her. You might know her.
I do.
She's very wise. But it was a labor of love. She jumped on the bus with us on tour, traveled around, and we wrote a lot of it just living and being together and having that experience. So I think that was important, that those conversations were occurring while we were making music and touring.
Speaking of Neil, there was a question that was submitted earlier this week by Charlie, and she wants to know if you have any other plans to work with him again.
Well, we're always talking about doing something, but the latest thing that he put out that was really special was Blueberry Girl, which he wrote when Tash was inside. I don't mean in prison, but inside. And he wrote this poem for her, which then became a storybook. So we collaborate in that way, as we are in and out of each other's lives, sort of like spiritual brother and sister, which we've always had that specific relationship. But I don't know. My worry sometimes, if you work with certain people that you're so close to, you don't want to fall out with them, because you can. You hear about that all the time.
That's true. Very good point.